Okay, so in the last video, I did this unique property to the column object for the title in the post. So this will create an index which makes the title unique inside the database. So it won't accept the same title again. But the thing is, let me go to Postwoman and I will change the method from put to post, and I will post the same title we had before from the previous video. So new double N, which we created already. So if I try to do this, I will get an error. But cannot post. Yes, I need to remove the ID from the URL. But we will get a not friendly error. So internal server error. But if you go to Nest and open the terminal, you will see. I'm pretty sure it displays it, but yeah, okay. So I pressed Enter in the keyboard. So duplicate key violates unique constraint. But the user or the front-end engineer won't see it, will only see this, which does not make sense. So we need to create a custom validator which talks to the post repository to find if this title exists, throw then an error which maybe says not unique title. So to do this, we need to create a custom decorator which specifies the same rules from the class validator and put it here. But the thing is, which is I see people online always struggle with, is how to inject the post repository inside the class validator, which is based on what I tried is not an easy thing. And you will find even no matter how you try, you will always find like something will hit you and you won't be able to do it, like some errors, or sometimes it will be undefined. There's a lot of good reasons for that, but I will just show you like a hacky way to do it. It's not the best way, but it works. And it's not like injection. It's it's nothing but injection. So I'm not sure exactly how to name this video, but hopefully it's not a wrong name. But to start doing this, I will show you the way, and maybe you can try on your own other things. Then you will see a lot of errors. Maybe maybe then you can come back to this video and realize how this solution solves all of that. Which this solution looks very bad. Okay, so to start, what I will do, I will need to inject the post repository inside the post entity. So if you want to inject anything inside any class, you need to make the dependency injection framework aware of it. So I will add the injectable decorator in the post entity, and I need to go to the post module and put it in with the providers array. So now the dependency injection framework knows about this post entity class and can inject it, by the way, and can inject classes into it. So what I will do, I will put a constructor. I think it's a little bit laggy, but just bear with me. So what I will do here, I will add injectable can type God. So injectable, just like the service repository. Let me go to the service, just copy it. Post.service. I will remove, yeah, like this. And it complains because since we extended another class, we need to call the the parent constructor, you can say super. And now we can import this. So the post entity now has a post repo. inside its constructor. We shouldn't see any error in the terminal, so which is fine. So I will come back to this, but let's work on our custom validator and show you why we need to do this. Because we need to pass this to our custom validator. You can't inject in there. I tried. I think you will see why now, because the thing that creates the validator class is not the dependency injection framework, it's the class validator library itself. So I believe this is the reason. One of the reasons. There's each time you try something, you will realize that there is a reason why that fails, and people are online are struggling with it based on what I saw. What I saw. So I will create a folder inside the post folder, validators. So for now, I'll just create maybe. I'll copy unique. I will create. It won't be a generic validator. Just for the title for now. So unique.validator.typescript. So this is the convention to put the type of the file in the first dot, then the extension. So what I will put here. Okay. So I will start with the decorator. Hopefully VS Code will import this for me. So validator. If I can type constraint. So you need to create a constraint class which you pass it to the decorator function. I'll show you how. So export class unique title constraints plural. So this implements validator constraint interface. Yes. Okay. So this need to have at least one function. I think one function only, the validate. I'm pretty sure there is more complex scenarios, but yeah. So this should return a boolean at the end. So for now, just return true. And since we will contact the database and we will use the ORM, I think it's a better idea to convert it to asynchronous validation. So async to make it asynchronous. So async true. I mean, this is just a configuration here. I think maybe they changed something in the decorator, how it's behave when you pass this. But at the end, you need to pass async. You need to return a promise here, which returns boolean, and I will make this function asynchronous so I can await it. But you are free. You can not use it. Yeah. So you cannot make this function. No, sorry. So, you don't have to make this asynchronous. Okay. You can just return a new promise and then resolve it as yourself. But I will just do this. It's easier. So what we need to do here theoretically. So get the post repo. We need then to call post repo dot find where title equal title, which will the user we will pass the title, and if at least one post exists, we return false. So the validation will throw an error. Good. And the decorator, this is the constraint. The decorator itself is just a function. All decorators are functions, by the way. So function, it's called, I will call it is unique title. This function is a high order function which needs to return a function that registers the decorator. So here are options. It's optional. There is a type for it. The validation options. This should return a function which accepts which accepts object of type object and property name. You can name them anything you want. This is just string, obviously, of course, but yeah, no, string as a type. So this need to use another function called register decorator from the class validator. So this function accepts an object, which, by the way, I don't understand all the arguments itself, but all the arguments exactly, but I'll show you how. So the first one is the target. You pass the object. So object dot constructor. If there is anything wrong, why does it? Did I miss something? Did I write something wrong? I think it's fine. Not sure why does it complain. Maybe I would. Oops. Accepts one argument, but okay. I'll send it to object. By the way, yeah. At least for now, I'll rename this to O. O for object, and here it's a start. So the first thing is the target. This should be O constructor. God, let me just copy the name. So another thing is I believe it's complaining because some of the properties doesn't exist. You see now. Another thing is the property name, which we have it here. So we don't need to write colon in the name since it's the same token. The options, options. I think let's just make this options as well, so it will be passed automatically here. I think now the validator itself or the constraints, it's this class. So as I said, here where they create instance of this class. So that's why even if you put here injectable, add decorator injectable, and put it inside the post module providers, you won't have this. You won't have any capability of injecting classes into this class here, because it gets created from this function. So this is an issue, I believe, which makes things a little bit hard. And even what I tried is to go to the unique title constraints dot prototype dot and here at, like, for example, a repo, and pass it to the is unique title decorator when I use it, but this won't work either because two issues. One thing is this function will be called before the dependency injection will resolve this post entity, and even it will be called before that, so you can't pass it. And another thing is you can't access a properties from the class when you use decorators for another properties. I hope this is clear. So yeah. Okay, so this is our just a decorator function, and at the end we need to pass, I think, we need to tell it that it's asynchronous. Okay, so, and I think for this the property name, I think this will be title in our case. The options is like the message and always true. The validator is this class. I think the target is the constructor, which is, so JavaScript is an prototypal language, and this class syntax, I think, I believe it's a syntactic sugar for the constructor functions, Constructor functions are just functions that creates objects with this keyword, and you call them with the new keyword. So new is unique title, and this should just define an object with this keyword. As a quick example might be that, like function human. So this dot name equal 1 and const h equal new human. So h will have now a property called h is an object of a human, and it will have a property called name, and it will be equal to 1. So this behind the scene, I think the engines of JavaScript, maybe V8, SpiderMonkey, whatever, will convert the class syntax to this constructor function. And this constructor function have go to human dot prototype. I believe somewhere you can find the constructor which we are passing here. Oh no, sorry. So h dot constructor. I believe it should be here, but it's something like this. We are passing the. Or wait. To be honest, I'm a little bit confused about this line here. I thought I understood it. I think the constructor property exists in the function itself. So human dot constructor. I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. It exists here. Maybe. So this constructor will reference the constructor function from this post entity. So it's not relevant. So let's just forget about it. So here we are registering a decorator, which is this function itself is unique title. So what we'll do here, we will just we need to import it obviously, but before the title, just add decorator, which and then is unique title. VS Code imported it for me, and the option as the other validators. So message would be not unique with exclamation mark, and always check for it, even in chain, even if it's a create or update. So, but this won't work because we are always returning a true. So we need to somehow pass the post repository here. So just before we start, let's see if there is an error in the. Yes, no errors in the terminal. So I will use for that. I will use something that might it's stupid, okay, but it works. I will go back to our code here in the post entity where we injected the post repo, and in the top of the class I will create a variable. Copy this here. So I'll call it post repo, and the constructor I will rename it to repo, just repo. So okay. So now when the dependency injection injects the post repository inside the post entity, just assign it to the post repo variable. That's it. But when I tried this, so what was my idea to put this inside one of the things that I tried inside the prototype of the class of this class. So for example, after you do this, I will go here and dot prototype. Of course, you need to import it. I'll just show you. I think it will be long. Doesn't matter. So import from. So I think from the syndic directory, go to validators, unique validator. So I need to import the unique title constraint, and here unique title constraint dot prototype dot repo equal repo, and it will complain here. It will complain. So what you can do is go inside the class itself and add a repo of type. Let me copy the type from here. I think we need to import them. So import the repository, import post entity. Yes. And now it should not complain. So it's getting laggy anyway, but it should not complain. So, but what's the problem here? That this will be, the repo will be injected after this function will be called and this instance will be created. So the repo will be undefined. So that's the issue. This will be injected after. So a hacking solution is to put set interval. So keep it checking if the keep it checking if the unique title constraint dot prototype dot repo equal to null, just assign it to this, and you will keep it checking, for example, for each second. Then at the end it will be resolved and we'll pass it. But I will not do it here. I will use dynamic imports. So I'll just leave it like this. I will as when this gets resolved from the dependency injection framework, I will assign it to this variable here, 920, and at the end I will export a promise. So export default a new promise, and the type of the promise will be a promise of type repository post entity. This is what will be resolved eventually. So let's put it here as a generic type, and this promise accepts a callback, at least one. So and this callback function accepts another function. So the first one is resolve, and resolve will be a type of a function that should not return anything, or it might return, but in my case it won't. The post repo of type post repository of type post entity. Okay, post repository. So now what I will do, I will define an interval will be equal to set interval. This will be accepts the first argument is a callback function. The second one is a timer, which I think we can just leave it empty. So it will just keep doing it until we stop it. That's why I save it inside this variable. We can stop it like this. I will show you how. So if post repo, the variable outside the class, exists, resolve with the post repo itself. And then now we need to stop the interval, so it won't keep executing. So clear interval. But just a quick side note, I think this is not a good idea in term even of performance. Don't use these kind of hacks. Set timeout, set interval. Sometimes you need, but I think it doesn't matter that much, since this will be just called for maybe a few milliseconds, then just stops. So I don't think this is a huge problem. I'm not an expert in asynchronous JavaScript. I think there is the 3 queues in JavaScript that the event loop uses to schedule everything. Queue for promises. I'm not sure about their names, but one for promises, one for the sub processes. I think set interval, one of them, which have a priority. I think promises first, then set intervals, set timeouts, and stuff like this. So the original code, your code, the synchronous code, then the promises, then the these things, but not themselves, the callback inside of them. So the callback inside the promise will be executed in the main thread, but it will be added in the queue when it's ready. Yeah, something like this. Not the best explanation, but yeah. So this promise, which is exported by default from this file, will be resolved when there is a post repo value inside of this, and it will result with the post repository. So what we can get back here and use something very cool. So you can put this inside the constructor and add it to the prototype, but I want to show you the dynamic import, which is something new in JavaScript. Hopefully, I believe there is a plan to put it inside the JavaScript itself. But anyway, so what we can do inside the validate function. So let's remove this. Sorry, let's remove this line 7. I don't need it. And here, let's define a variable will be of type post repo, and if it will be of type repository. What is it? Of type post entity, and we'll now the dynamic import. So I'll import from. So go back on directory from the posts entity, and why does this complain? Oh yeah, okay. So remove this line, and this will return a promise. And this, by the way, returns a promise that I hope I can show you the type, but maybe here. So yeah, this the dynamic import will return a promise that will return two things from the post entity. It will return this promise and the class itself we exported here. So we need first of thing to await it. So await, and then after the await we need to put. So first await. Now we need to get the defaulted export, which is another promise. So await after you get the exported things, modules, whatever. Yes, after you get the exported module, await it, and then await the promise that resolves the post entity. Now, if you go to the post repo variable, so post repo dot find one dot find one. Now it will, so I'll pass where another object title, which how the user will pass it, we need to put it here. So title be a string, so like that. And since the key and the value is stored in the same token, we can just do this. And this will return a post. So let's just test it if this works. Let's just console log. We'll get, yeah, let's just console log it. And of course, this is a promise, so let's just await it. Let's see if there's any errors. I believe not everything is fine. Okay. This application successfully started. Let's create the same with the same title, the same post with the same title. So we will get internal server error, which is the same error we get previously, since we are still returning a true, and this the unique constraint will be thrown from the database. So this is error returned from the database, by the way. We want error from the Nest application side. So but the thing is, we found a post with the same title here from this line. So what we can do, so if we find it, we should return a false. That's it, and the decorator will throw this error. Will throw our error. So You can put this, but it will complain since it should return a promise of type boolean. So let's just put it so we can easily understand by looking what's the return type. So boolean. Okay, so JavaScript has truthy, falsy values. So you can't convert anything to them by putting 2 exclamation marks after the value have been resolved. So this will return anything that have been resolved from this promise to a truthy or falsy value, but an object is a truthy value. But in our case, if there is an object, I want to return false. But based on this code, if this is an object, it will return a true. So what we need to do is just put an exclamation mark here. So this will return a false if it's if it founds a post. If it does not found a post, it will return undefined or null, and this will the two exclamation mark will convert it to true, the not will convert it to false. Sorry, the 2 exclamation mark will convert it to false, and the exclamation mark here is not will convert it to true. Okay, let's test it. So send. Okay, so 400 bad request. This is the target, the object, the user sends, and unique title constraints. This is the name of the class. Not unique. Not unique came from, let's go to our post entity. Let me close this. I pass it here. So this is the message if it's not unique. And let's test that if the user passed a good data, which is a unique title, whatever, anything. So nn3 ew. Now it's get created. Send it again, we will get the error. So yeah, I know it's not it's not the best idea, but I think it's just like a bad hack around this behavior. I saw people a lot in Stack Overflow and GitHub complaining about this. So I believe most of them found a way, like a hacky way. So that's my way, I believe.